Just 3 more of these fucking movies. So Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings shows the early days of the 3 hillbilly cannibal inbreds as they prey upon a bunch of 20-somethings in an asylum. Halfway there, baby. Oh, we're halfway there. I don't know why I'm musical in Wrong Turn 4. This movie is a prequel. Oddly enough, I did not expect any prequels in this series. I don't know why I didn't expect that, because that's the one thing that you do when you get desperate to the point where you have absolutely run out of story. You say, hey, let's go back to the beginning and answer some of that shit. So this is a origin story in part where they show how these 3 hillbillies came to be from when they were kids to the adult cannibalistic murderers that we've known them to be in the past couple of movies. And in some ways, kind of a reboot of the series. We'll talk about it. It's debatable. So starting right off with the positives, let's talk about the kills, because this is something that has been kind of a shining penny in the last couple of movies while being a bit of a misstep with the CGI. I actually think the kills in this movie are pretty damn great. Like, there's one in the beginning where a guy is put up on a rack with some barbed wire and you see his limbs getting pulled off. All practical effects. And I'm telling you, when you're making a movie like this that is literally the bottom of the barrel, you are scraping the bottom of that fucking thing, at least give us some great kills, because only slasher fans are going to be watching Wrong Turn 4. That's just a universal truth. Nobody's going to stumble upon this after watching Primal Fear. No. We know what we're here for. We're here to see some fucked up kills. If you give that to us, if you give us some great practical effects, something to walk away and say, hey, might not have been the best story, might not have been the best characters, but those couple of kills there, that shit was gnarly. And there is some CG here and there, but I feel like it's not as bad as the past couple of movies. It's not as painted on. It's kind of just there to maybe extend the kills out a little bit, you know, kind of fluff that budget that they obviously didn't have very much of. But there is a couple of kills in here. The rat kill, there's a chick that gets hung with barbed wire. There's even a decapitation at the very end of this movie. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about that. Even a torture scene. A guy's strapped to a table and they're just filleting just pieces of his skin, like little pieces of pork loin or something, and it looks real. They're not cutting into a little computer graphic. No, there's actually something there that they're cutting and pulling off. Who the fuck knew? Physical effects look more real. I also kind of enjoyed the little bit of an origin that we get with this. I'm pretty famous for saying that I do not like prequels. Just about every single prequel out there, I have the same issue with them. They're giving me answers to questions that I was not asking, and they're giving me answers to questions that I was asking, but the answers I was coming up with in my head are better than whatever the fuck they gave me. Prequels aren't really my thing. And this movie is kind of a prequel. Like, you could essentially just watch the first 10-15 minutes of this as a prequel, and the rest of this could have just been a sequel or a movie somewhere in the timeline, and it would have felt exactly the same. But giving us this origins of these 3 brothers that are locked in this asylum, and kind of giving you a short little explanation of how they got their names of Three Finger, One Eye, and Sawtooth, I actually thought they were decent enough. I mean, this is not Shakespeare. This is not going for some deep philosophical reasons of why they get these names. Literally, a dude saws his teeth into fangs. But for an explanation for why these characters are the way that they are, I thought that they delivered a decent enough origin to where I went, okay, I can get behind that.
Definitely the most dangerous patients in the hospital.
They're just kids.
I really enjoyed this sanatorium as a setting. I think it breaks up the pace of this franchise pretty well. I mean, so far it's been woods, 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 woods. Asylum, holy shit. A change of pace in the setting can do wonders in a franchise that is monotonous as this. I liked the setting. Asylums all on its own are creepy as fuck with nothing in them. You put hillbilly cannibals in there and a bunch of the fucked up origins that we get of these characters, and it works well for this movie. It gives it a different vibe, and it actually makes it a little bit creepier than the past 2. I mean, none of these movies have really got under my skin, but 4 probably was the closest. And finally, I thought the movie was actually paced pretty well too. Again, it's a short little 90-minute slasher. This is a straight-to-DVD little B movie. You're not going to expect some huge, long, sweeping epic, but when you get into a movie like this, pacing does really help when they don't have a whole lot else going for it. I think they got in with the origins. They gave us some really good kills throughout. It helps when you have a big cast because you can have kills every 5-10 minutes, and it just, for a slasher movie, that really helps keep it going at a nice clip. And I felt like the movie never got to a lull. There was never a point where I'm like, Okay, you're boring me now. Let's just get back to the blood and the gore. Now moving on to the negatives. This movie has some of the most infuriating characters that I have ever seen in a slasher movie in my life. You have a group of 20-somethings that's basically half guys, half girls. The dudes are all like textbook definition bros. Like they're totally fucking idiotic. All they care about is fucking anything that moves and just coming up with these weird little pranks and quips like they haven't grown up since they were 10 years old. And everything out of their mouths, I just wanted somebody to come smack the shit out of them. Or put them on a rack and pull their limbs off. But you know, it's a slasher movie. I didn't know what they were gonna do with them. When you get to the female characters, and I totally apologize to all of my female viewers, I did not write this movie, but these are some dumb bitches. I'll go out on a limb and say, aside from the main antagonists being these hillbilly cannibals that are actively seeking out murdering these people, all of the women in this movie are basically almost directly responsible for all of the deaths that happen within this little group. Every decision that they make is like the worst possible decision that you could come up with in that scenario. There's literally a scene where one of the guys is being tortured. It's the guy that's, you know, the skin fillet scene I said actually looks pretty damn good. Practical effects, baby. Yeah, he's screaming his ass off. The women were the ones that he was following. They don't even notice that he's not there. I guess they don't realize that there's no footsteps behind him for a good 2 minutes. And then they stand there and they have a debate with the one guy that's left about whether or not they should go help him or not. The guy is the one gleaming light of truth here. The one guy with reasonable thinking is like, look, we can hear him screaming right now. He probably needs our help. We should go help him out. And they're like, no, I don't know if we should do that. Let's talk about it. Let's rock, paper, scissors.
Best 2 out of 3.
No way!
Yes way.
There's like a good 5 or 6 scene exchange where it's them debating and then it cuts back to the torture, and then it's them debating and then it cuts back to the torture, and then they almost decide on it, and then one chick puts her hand up and says, no, I don't think we should do it. And then it goes back to the torture, and it's like, fuck, will you just decide to hell with that guy and run, or go and save him like you should? And then there's another scene that's like literally 3-4 minutes after this where they chase the hillbilly cannibals into an empty cell. They lock the fucking door. They have all of the enemies of the movie, all of the antagonists right there in a little 5x5 room. The guy has gas all over the place. He's got his lighter. He's like, all right, time to end these motherfuckers. And then again, we get the little hand raise. I don't think we should do this. Hey, you know, I think we should kill these guys because, you know, they've been trying to murder us the entire movie. They already just filleted one of our friends, decapitated one of them, possibly killed the other one. No, we did. We saw his head rolling, so they did kill him. So that's 3 friends now that they have murdered. We should probably get revenge on them. Not only avenge all the people that they have killed before us, but also prevent a hell of a lot of deaths, assuming that we actually get out of here. What do you think? I just think it's morally wrong to stoop to their level.
Why don't you shut up, bitch?
It's fucking mind-numbing. That is one of the horror movie cliches that grinds my gears the most. I understand that for movie plots to work, you kind of require human beings to make stupid-ass decisions, otherwise they would escape the situation in 15 minutes and you wouldn't have a movie. But when a movie, especially a slasher movie, just heavily relies on that, to the point of this movie just, let's just take the worst possible decisions and we'll just let them decide that for the group over and over and over again, fuck you. It even comes down to the ending of this movie, which, spoiler alert, I guess. You have the 2 surviving members of this camp of people, both female, and they're driving away victorious on a snowmobile, and they're laughing and they're smiling, and they don't even have enough sense to look forward and decapitate themselves on a barbed wire fence. It's not a trap. It's not like a piece of razor wire that was set there by the hillbilly cannibals and they just walked into their own fate. No, literally a perfectly visible fucking fence. And they're like, we got away, oh shit. If I was a woman, I'd be a little pissed at the representation I got in this movie. That's all I'm saying. Also, this seems like something that might be weird for a guy to complain about, but this movie almost has like a softcore porn element to it. This is like the Friday the 13th 5 of the series. It literally opens up past the prologue, the prequel side of this, with like a orgy basically in this apartment going on. There's like a couple and they're just going at it for like a good 2 minutes. Later on, they pick it up again where a guy's looking and he's like, yeah, show me more. And I guess a cruel twist of fate. I'm watching this movie when I'm home alone And then my wife and my youngest kid literally just walk through the door right when it's at that part. And I'm watching, I'm like, it's for a review, I swear. It helps when you have a movie like this, when you throw a little TNA in there. That's part of the formula of slashers. Again, I didn't write the rules. I'm just, don't hate the player, hate the game. And when you have a movie like this that takes it so far to where it almost feels like they splice in like sequences of a porn movie that just makes it feel tonally just way out of place, it was something that stood out to me.
You guys are a bunch of slut monkeys.
Like, you could be watching this movie with your wife, and you know, most wives are understanding that there's nudity in movies, there's sex scenes in movies, but as soon as it got to the scenes in this movie, she'd be giving you the stink eye thinking that you changed the channel on her. There also might be a little bit of an issue with this movie with retconning. Again, it's kind of like Friday the 13th when it comes to lore, when it comes to continuity. It's like, fuck it, who really gives a shit? But when you watch this movie and they're starting to tell you the origins of these three characters, despite the fact that I did kind of enjoy that side of things, it really does feel like it contradicts the origins that we already got in the other movies. Like in Wrong Turn 2, you actually meet the guy, the gas station attendant from the first film, and he gives you the mini origin right there with Henry Rollins, and like, yeah, I just wanted to stay here with my youngins, and tells you the whole thing. Hey, yeah, we just stayed here, everybody else left, and we just fucked constantly and had kids and fucked them too. And it's like, oh, that's gross, but okay, that's enough of an origin. And then you get here and it's like, oh, okay, I prefer this origin, but what about that one? Oh, and the last thing that I'll say, I made a little comment in my Wrong Turn 3 review about I don't think that cannibals eat raw flesh, and it's always been something when you have a cannibal movie that bugs me when they're just like pulling eyeballs out and eating them raw, or just biting onto somebody like a fucking turkey leg while they're sitting there screaming. And I'm like, I've never met a cannibal, but I'm pretty sure they like their meat cooked just like us. Ha! This movie proves it. They're doing the little oil fondue thing. They're not eating them right there at the table. They're cooking them. They're having fun with each other. It's a great old time for cannibals because they're having cooked meat. I knew I was right. Ha! But all in all, guys, I will say this is another Wrong Turn sequel that I would only recommend to a very select few people, like hardcore slasher fans. It's not for anybody else, and I think they know that when they make it. But as far as the sequels thus far, I think I like this one the most after the first Wrong Turn. You know, it has a lot of the same problems, shitty characters, bad writing, it's just generic, let's get to the kills type of movie. But I feel like there was a little bit more, no pun intended, a little more meat on its bones.
Sarah, Daniel, is that you?
So if you're still hanging on for dear life in the Wrong Turn franchise, you might actually find yourself a decent change of pace with this one. A cool little asylum setting, a little bit of origins to change it up, and some pretty impressive kills compared to the other movies. So check this thing out online and stream it. So what do you guys think of Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings? Is this one that you like in this series? I had a couple of comments on Wrong Turn 1 saying that this was a lot of people's favorite or second favorite, so is this your favorite in the franchise? Do you think that this is garbage and you have no idea why I like this more than 2 or 3? Let me know all of your thoughts down below as we get ready to do 5 and 6, which I've been pretty much warned is the worst. God give me strength. But let me know down below. Like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber so you can check out all those other reviews as well as the next 3 to come. And as always, guys, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.